Yeah, at Google, we really care about moving fast. It's been one of our fundamental philosophies from the very beginning. In fact, for many of our products, we can make largest products. We can make hundreds of changes every single day. And what we wanted to do was really start bringing all of this knowledge along with best practices to the industry. So as part of that, we acquired Dora last year, which does DevOps research and assessment. And this is one of the results was in the book Accelerate that you heard about. And what we're doing is really assembling a set of principles so every team and all of you can operate just like we do at Google and be able to move fast and actually move faster without breaking things. And that's really an awesome thing to share a little bit more about how we're working on that jointly with CloudBees. I'd love to just welcome Moritz on stage.
Thank you, Bali. Yeah. I began my own journey into CI/CD tools roughly 10 years ago. I'm building CI/CD tools for now 10 years. Yeah. And when I look back, I still remember those moments when I had to convince people really one by one that you need automated testing, continuous integration, continuous delivery, this DevOps thing. It's real. You really need it. And I wish I could just go back in time and take those Dora reports with me, because they really they scientifically prove that it works. If you follow those best practices and adhere to those principles, you build better software faster. So thank you for being on stage with us today and sharing all of that.
Oh,
it's awesome.
Yeah, happy to do that. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Wow. I have to say, I'm quite impressed. One thing I didn't imagine 10 years ago is that one day I could be on stage in front of, I don't know, maybe 900, 1,000 people and talk about continuous delivery. That's truly, truly amazing. So thank you for being here today. So I work for CloudBees, and we thought quite hard about continuous delivery and all those new technologies, Kubernetes as well. And the question we asked ourselves is, how did all those principles and best practices and all those new technologies, how do they impact our products and tools? And initially, we were like, well, we got something that's working. We have our existing tooling, processes, and workflows. We have something that's working, so why change it, right? If it's not broken, why fix it? I'm pretty sure some of you have been in a similar situation. And that worked. It kind of worked. It worked for our existing applications that didn't change much, where we maybe did a lift and shift to the cloud, but we didn't fundamentally alter the way those applications work. So we also didn't fundamentally change the way we work. But what about those new applications? Applications where you can start from scratch with a blank sheet of paper, use all the latest and greatest technologies out there, and follow those principles and best practices, do continuous delivery from day one, do it right. What we realized is, in this new world, taking our old tools, our old processes and workflows with us and forcing them into this new world didn't quite make sense. It didn't quite work for us. The world changed, and so we have to change and evolve as well. With that in mind, we had many conversations with end users of our open source projects, developers, Jenkins administrators, some shared customers with Google, and all of you. And what stood out is, and what became very apparent is that this new world isn't perfect either. We thought all those new tools, they would all make it easier for us to build better software faster. Yet what we realized is, it's actually more complicated, it's complex, and to be honest, it's quite overwhelming. We were promised game-changing progress, but all we got is more complexity. But let's not make a mistake here. We need to embrace this new world. We need to embrace cloud-native development, microservices, Kubernetes. If you look at Kubernetes, Kubernetes, like any technology out there, it has its advantages and disadvantages. We simply haven't fully unlocked its potential yet. What if only all of us could be Kubernetes experts, right? You know as well as I do that it's not realistic. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I love to play with new technologies. It's awesome, but there's no point in becoming an expert in it. Every time there is a new technology coming out. And we can't expect that all our other developers, all our coworkers become experts overnight. It would be the wrong solution. What we need is, we need to simplify it. We need to simplify cloud-native development. We need to remove the obstacles that prevent us from doing our work. That is why we created Jenkins X. Jenkins X gives you an opinionated and simplified developer experience on top of Kubernetes. You get all the power of Kubernetes without having to deal with its overwhelming complexity and the complexity of its ecosystem. And that truly allows you to accelerate your continuous delivery efforts. And that means that you can focus on building new applications, differentiated capabilities, new features, and create more value for your customers. Creating more value for your customers is all that matters. So for the last 18 months, we have been working on reimagining Jenkins. What if Jenkins would be reborn in the cloud-native world? Not just retrofitted, but reborn. And in the journey, we looked at the Jenkins community, the Accelerate book, the Dora reports, for inspiration every step of the way. Jenkins X is Jenkins' spiritual counterpart for the cloud-native world. Like Jenkins, Jenkins X is open source. It's part of the Continuous Delivery Foundation. If you look under the hood, it's a completely different code base. Jenkins X is built for Kubernetes, so we heavily leverage Golang and other open source technologies like Tekton to do the underlying pipeline execution. Yet, many of the concepts we all love in Jenkins, like its extensibility, they are all there in Jenkins X as well. Now, let's go back to the principles Bali talked about and take a look what Jenkins X does in detail. All those principles, we took them and we built them right into the product so that you get the benefit of those principles out of the box. First of all, GitOps. GitOps in a nutshell means that any change to an environment, for example, your production environment, it's all done through Git. The Git repository becomes your single source of truth. It enables you to test all those changes, collaborate with your colleagues in a pull request on it. It creates transparency, and it also creates an audit trail for all those changes. Who did what when? It's pretty awesome. And every change to your application that you test and deploy with Jenkins X, it's leveraging GitOps under the covers. Secondly, continuous integration and delivery. We talked about it quite a bit today. I think you get the theme. Jenkins X does the ICD out of the box. There's no need for stitching together two solutions anymore. All you need to do is you commit to your Git repository, and Jenkins X takes over and automates the rest. Doesn't matter if you have a simple workflow and you deploy into production right away, or if you need many different stages and environments. Jenkins X can handle all of it. And thanks to Kubernetes and the power of Kubernetes, we can give you parity between all those environments, which makes it really simple to not just promote from one to another environment, but also to roll back. You get all the power of Kubernetes without having to deal with the complexity and the details. Jenkins X does all of that for you. And guess what? It's leveraging GitOps under the cover for all of that as well. And last but not least, probably my personal favorite, Jenkins X gives you an automated preview environment for every pull request. And that really helps you to have short-lived feature branches and get your code merged into master faster. Jenkins X creates an automated preview environment. And not just that, it boasts the URL for that preview environment right into your pull request. So when you make a change, let's say you change the UI quite a bit, and you want your designers and your product managers to feedback it, All they need to do is they go into the pull request, which they will likely do anyway. They will go into the pull request, they click on the URL, and they can see the change live. And that automatically happens for every pull request. That really turbocharges your code review process and get those feature branches merged into master faster, the change deployed into production, and all of that creates more value for your customers, which is pretty awesome. Now, I could go on for like hours because Jenkins X has so many amazing capabilities, but there are other interesting topics we want to talk about today as well. So let's get Bali back on stage to talk a little bit more about all the awesome things Google Cloud is doing. Thank you, Bali.
Yeah.
So I talked quite a bit about Kubernetes and Jenkins X and other open source projects in the ecosystem. I mean, Google is really at the forefront of many of those. Mm-hmm. And earlier this year, Google and CloudBees helped to start and co-found the Continuous Delivery Foundation. Yep. Can you talk a little bit about your motivation behind that?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is y'all look at Kubernetes. As we thought about it, the simple way to think about it is a universal runtime across, whether it's on-premise, in your own data centers, or it's in the cloud. Similarly, we think about Tecton, which Tara talked about earlier, and all the work we're doing in CDF as sort of the universal CI/CD platform that you can use regardless of whether you're on-premise or whatever cloud you choose.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, CloudBees loves open source, but it's not just about open source and Kubernetes, right? There are also many other products that Google is offering. One of them is GKE, which makes it really easy to consume Kubernetes in the cloud. So can you talk a little bit about the recent adoption and what feedback you're hearing from your users and customers about GKE?
Yeah, you know, as we look at Kubernetes and the whole space across hybrid and containers and multi-cloud overall, the number one thing we heard from customers is they love what it allows them to do, but they just want it to be simpler. They don't want to deal with all of the complexity of Kubernetes. They don't want to deal with all of the complexity of dealing with a hybrid and multi-cloud environment, which is why we've seen huge interest and uptake in both GKE, which is Google Kubernetes Engine, our managed Kubernetes offering. It just takes care of all of the complexity, right? It does all of the auto-scaling for you. You can seamlessly work across any environment. Similarly, Anthos, we've seen huge interest. We've already had thousands of customers on GKE and a number of customers already in production with Anthos. So we're very, very excited about what's happening.
Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. When we started Jenkins X, many of our first users, they also used GKE. They really loved it. GKE is, for them, the best Kubernetes implementation in the cloud. And they gave similar feedback. They also gave other feedback, which was quite interesting. Maybe not so much the actual feedback we got, but who gave the feedback to us. In the same team, in the same company, we saw happy developers who love Jenkins X because it accelerates their continuous delivery efforts. But in that same team and company, we saw other people that were still quite frustrated. And when we talked to them and listened to the feedback, what we realized is that, unfortunately, it's still a little bit too hard to run and manage and operate Jenkins X. You have to upgrade it and update it from time to time. It's an ongoing effort. And so we immediately went to work, like we always do. We wrote some code, we looked at the documentation, created more getting started guides and tutorials. We really want to solve this problem and simplify how to run Jenkins X. But we never really addressed the root cause of all of it. I mean, if we are honest, and you all know this, running complex software, running complex systems, it's hard. It requires a specialized skill set, and it's an ongoing effort. So a couple of months ago, we teamed up with our friends at Google, and Bali and I and our teams, we sat down and we really said we want to tackle this problem once for all. For obvious reasons, we thought there's no better company in the world than Google to collaborate around Kubernetes and how to simplify the developer experience around Kubernetes. And so we asked ourselves, how could we give Jenkins X to you with all its benefits without you having to run it yourself? And today, I'm incredibly proud to announce the result of this partnership to you, which is that we provide Jenkins X Do You as a service powered by Google Cloud.
Awesome. You know, it's super exciting. Yeah. First of all, I just want to say it was an awesome collaboration, and the idea behind this is to just make CI/CD simple for everyone with Kubernetes, and you'll get this with this solution. It's awesome. Great
Thank you,
collaboration.
Pali.
Yeah.
So CloudBees CI/CD powered by Jenkins X is a fully managed SaaS solution, leveraging GKE, and it's built on a Jenkins X open source project. So you get all the benefits of Jenkins X open source and much more. All of that is completely managed by us, so you don't have to worry about running Jenkins X yourself anymore. If you want to get access today, please scan the QR code and sign up for our preview program. Preview program means we gradually give you access over time. We work with you. We incorporate your feedback, further improve the product, and then at a later stage, launch it into GA. But that's not all, right? We just announced a new product. It would be quite boring if all we do is slides and talk a little bit about it, right? We are developers, so what we want to see is the actual product, play around with it, or at least get a demo. Who wants to see a demo? Awesome, awesome. So please join me in welcoming James Rawlings, co-founder of the Jenkins X open source project and principal software engineer at CloudBees, to the stage to show you a little bit what Jenkins X and the new SaaS solution does for you. Awesome. Welcome, James.
Hello. So welcome to CloudBees CI/CD powered by Jenkins X. So we don't have much time, but that's okay, because with just a few minutes, we're going to show how easy it is and super simple to be able to start building, developing, and running software in the cloud. Here we can see in the dashboard, we've got a list of workspaces. Now, a workspace is an isolated area where teams can collaborate. Creating a new workspace is super simple. With just a few clicks, we can create and provision out a fully managed CI/CD platform on Google's container engine. Including in this with Jenkins X is Tekton for cloud-native CI/CD pipelines, Vaults for secrets management, and everything else that's needed to get started with cloud development. We can see here we've created our dev tooling workspace. We already have an existing one for the common services. We could connect via the CLI. We can also look at the infrastructure views actually on Google's Cloud Console as well. But for this demo, we're just going to focus on the dashboard. We can connect to our workspace here, and we can see immediately at the top there, we have projects, builds, and environments. Now, initially, what we've set up out of the box, we have these initial projects. We have one for staging, development, and production. This is because we encourage for GitOps. So every single project that we can see here represents a Git repository. So any change that goes into any of these environments actually goes via Git. We can also see we have a Node.js application that's already been created. This was created before using JX import. Next, we can go over and see our builds. So we can see any previous builds that have been run or past or probably more failed builds that we're interested in. And now we also have our environments. These are our out-of-box environments that we have today. Before long, you'll be able to bring your own environments as well. So we can see we've got our Node.js application that's actually running in our staging environment. We can see version 0013 that's running there. We've also got the same version over in our production environment. Now this is running on Google's container engine, so we can see that application is running over in staging. Clicking and viewing the application, we can see we've got our lovely logo actually running in our staging environment. We've got more options here from this view. We can now go and actually have a look at the source code for that change. So clicking this, go over to GitHub. We can see we've got our tagged released version that's for that source code that's running in our staging environment. Now, we can see we've actually got a pull request that's been opened. When we imported this application, we set up the automated CI/CD for this project. So when we have our awesome UX designer from Josh South, he's actually created a pull request. We want to actually go and view and run tests for our automation of our CI. Now, I don't know about anybody here, but reading a pull request of an SVG file change isn't too easy. So what we want to do is be able to actually review this change for real. We want to actually deploy and run this change. So using the automation that we have through Jenkins X, we can actually trigger our pipeline, our automated CI, and this will actually build and run and deploy this application, that change, into a temporary preview environment, as Mo described. So here we're using ChatOps on our pull request to trigger the CI builds, so we're OK to test. Here we can see our build has been triggered. So heading back to the dashboard, we should be able to view our build running. Here we can see we've got our PR9 of the first build that's been triggered for that pull request, and this is Josh's change that's actually being built. Again, this is using cloud-native pipeline executions from Tekton. This is super fast, super reliable, and cloud-friendly. We're building that Node.js application. We're building a Docker image using Canico for nice, secure Docker image building, pushing the image to GCR, creating a temporary preview environment, and deploying that change in. Now, we've sped up the demo just here slightly as DNS propagated, but we've actually shortened that. But this is actually building and deploying and running that application in this preview environment. So you can see on the pull request, the automation has actually commented back on the pull request and said that application is running now in our preview environment. So we can go and actually have a real look at what Josh is actually proposing as a change. OK, that looks a little bit better than reading that SVG file on GitHub. Comparing to our old one, our old image, and our new one, we can trust the UX designers have actually done a better job at this. So let's go ahead, and we're going to looks good to me this change. Because we are embracing chunk-based development, the automation merges that change because CI test passed. That's going to create a brand new release and automatically deploy that out to our staging environment. So heading back to the dashboard, let's go and have a look at our environments. We can see a build's been triggered. And now we're actually performing a rolling upgrade in Google Container Engine for that Node.js application. Version 003 is going to version 0014. Here we can see we've got a rolling upgrade has been successful. So we can go and actually now view that Josh's change in our staging environment. Looks pretty good. So to complete the full cycle, we now want to promote this change into our production environment. Clicking through the UI, we can promote, and again, the same as staging, this will actually take that change, using GitOps, actually performs a promotion and deploying that change into our production environment. Rolling upgrade, version 0014, pod is ready, and we can go and view our application. Now, this was a recorded demo, but we are super excited to be sharing as much as possible of this. We'll be performing loads of live demos. Come and hang out with us at the booth. There's loads of great talks, so I'd encourage everybody to try and have a look at this and join us on our journey with this as well. Thank you.